First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to melt some butter, about 4 tablespoons of butter. I love soup. Sunday is my big soup cooking day. But I usually don't have all day to make soup, you know, so it needs to come together pretty quickly. So this is perfect. It makes a nice big batch, the perfect fall soup, just yummy, delicious, comfort food. And don't worry, when you think pumpkin, don't think pumpkin pie on this. This is actually savory, and we're adding a cup of finely diced onion. So this is not going to be a real sweet soup, but it's just going to be yummy. I think even the kids will like it. Something a little different. I just want to saute that onion a little bit. Let it sweat, as they call it, and do its thing. And I'm going to do a few cloves of fresh garlic, 3 or 4 cloves of fresh garlic. And I don't use one of those fancy presses. I just use the back of my knife. And give it a good whack like that. This is a really nice soup to serve not only during fall, but also on Thanksgiving. I think Thanksgiving can be such a food fest sometimes, and I really like to slow it down a little bit and start out with a salad and then maybe a soup and just really make the meal last. And this is a nice one to tuck away for Thanksgiving too. And even into winter, you know. I'm just a real big soup person. I grew up, my mom, whenever she'd make soup, she's known for her homemade chicken noodle soup. And her recipes in my cookbook, it's and she'd always make a huge kettle of it and then have a bunch of people over. And I still like to make a big kettle of soup because the leftovers will, you know, last you during the week. On those days where you just need a quick lunch, I can run home for lunch, heat up some soup, or even makes a great dinner on those weeknights that is just crazy busy and, you know, there's just no way to get dinner on the table. You walk in 8 or 9 o'clock at night after all those kids' activities, not a problem. Pull the soup out of the refrigerator and it freezes well. This soup will also freeze for a few months in a container. Okay, oh, nothing like the smell of sauteed onions. It really isn't. We're almost there. I just want to let those cook just a little bit longer. And here's my secret to making quick pumpkin soup. I've got 2 cans of 100% pure pumpkin. Now, this is not the pumpkin pie filling. This is just the pure pumpkin, so that we don't have to hassle with, you know, roasting the pumpkins in the oven. I'm all about home cooking, but trying to find shortcuts to do it the easy way, and this stuff rocks. Do all the work for you. It's all done. And I was just looking at the ingredients, and the ingredients are pumpkin. So it doesn't get any more real than that. I love it when I see that on a can. Okay, and if you get a little color on those onions, that's good. When it comes to making soups, that's you know, flavor. So, okay, I'm going to get my garlic in, and you know the rule when it comes to garlic, especially when you're using fresh garlic. In. And then use your spatula and move it. 30 seconds is the rule on this. You just want to be able to smell that garlic and get a real quick saute on it. It can get away from you and burn, and then the whole pot of soup would be ruined, and that is not a good thing. Okay, in goes my 2 cans of pumpkin. So this doesn't have any sugar or anything in it at this point. Thank you, Ann. Okay, I want to get every little last speck out of there. And now I'm going to add some chicken stock. Or if you wanted to keep this vegetarian, you could do vegetable stock. I really have become a huge fan of the stock in the box. Especially this soup is such a simple soup. Not a lot of ingredients going on. that, you know, if you splurge and get this, and it's not that much more expensive, instead of the canned chicken broth or the bouillon, this is the real stuff where they've actually taken the chicken and bones and all that kind of stuff. So that's the difference between stock and broth. All right, I just want to get that in there. Use my whisk to kind of combine that. And Ann, I am going to take the lid. Is the lid down here? Mm-hmm. All right. We had the lid for the pan off, and I thought, oh, we don't need that. But actually, that's going to make this cook a little bit more quickly. So I just want to get this nice and hot, and then we're going to finish off the soup, and we're almost to the finish line. A little bit of salt and pepper, and you always season soups as you go, and this is our famous mixture. I get questions about this all the time, and people say, what is that mixture? It's 1 cup of kosher salt and 1 tablespoon of coarse ground black pepper. Mix the two of them together, keep them by your stove, and then every time you need to season something, it's just that easy. You just use your fingers and just a little dab will do you, and it just really makes life easy. Now, I love serving soups, I really do. And the fun thing now is to garnish soups with some fun stuff on top, just to, you know, when I grew up, having my mom's chicken noodle soup, we didn't garnish the soup. It was just, that's how it was. But, you know, these days people are really into food. They're into not only eating with your mouth, but eating, you know, with your eyes. So it's got to be pretty, and you want it to, everything to look all pretty. So when I thought about coming up with a garnish for the soup, well, of course, pumpkin seeds came to mind. So, you know, if you're carving pumpkins, don't throw out those seeds by all means. They're just delicious. They're great on top of salads and things like that. You can season them in a bunch of different ways. Normally, the toughest part is cleaning them and then letting them dry. So normally we'll gut the pumpkins, which is no fun. Yeah, I'm going to be honest, it's just a mess. But it's worth, you know, when you're doing jack-o'-lanterns, you got to gut the pumpkins, but save those seeds, wash them real well, let them dry out for a couple days, and then I like to roast them. You can do it in a skillet with some butter, or you can do it, you know, just toss them with some olive oil, or even toss them dry onto a baking sheet and do them in the oven that way. But we're going to use a little bit of butter. It's up to you on how you want to do it. And I just want to get some nice color on these pumpkin seeds. We carve every year, it seems like every year. My little pumpkin Ireland, who's not so little anymore, she's still into pumpkins and picking out pumpkins and carving the jack-o'-lantern. So she and my husband Bob, they, you know, go out on our deck and they set out a bunch of newspapers and they go at it. Let me tell you, we got 15 pumpkins again this year. I don't even know how they all fit in the car, but how can you say no? You know, she's going to be growing up soon, and who knows how long she's going to be into this whole thing where she wants to hang out with Mom and Dad and go pick pumpkins. So we're going with it. I can get Riley out there to carve pumpkins, and he's 18. So, okay, I just want those pumpkin seeds to get a little toasted, get a little color. And by the way, if you have any good pumpkin recipes, please share. I'm always looking for your great recipes. Okay, I want to get back to the soup here, and I want to season this soup with a little bit. Now, it's very savory. We've got salt and pepper and onion and garlic, but I do want to add a little bit of sweetness. So I'm going to do a few tablespoons of brown sugar. But don't worry, this is still just going to be like adding a little bit of sugar. Sometimes I do to homemade tomato soup. Same idea. You know, it's not going to be a real sweet soup. It's just going to really enhance the flavor. A little bit of cinnamon. And again, I don't want too much. We're not making pumpkin pie here. So maybe about 1/4 or 1/2 of a teaspoon. Oh, wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, I just want that to cook a little bit. Yes, don't let me burn the pumpkin seeds. I'm known around here for burning the nuts and burning the pumpkin seeds. I just want to talk for a second about a little bit more garnish that we're going to do. I've got some fresh chopped, or I'm going to chop it now, just some flat leaf, or it's also called Italian parsley. And whenever you're cooking with parsley, that's the kind you want to use. You don't want to use the curly stuff. That's meant to just garnish the plate. So if you can't find it in the produce department, ask. Don't get it confused with cilantro. Totally different taste. Thanks, Ann. I just want to finely chop up some parsley, and this is going to be just a nice little fresh thing to do on top. The best pumpkin soup I had in Jamaica did have quite a bit of heavy cream in it. So we're going to do some heavy cream, and that's something when you're doing soups, you always kind of put that in at the end. A little more salt and pepper. We're almost to the finish line here. See the nice color we're getting on those pumpkin seeds? One last thing we're going to do is I've got some sour cream here. And if I were to dollop a little bit of sour cream on top of that soup, it normally would just kind of sink to the bottom. So what I like to do is take a little bit of sour cream, and this is a great garnish to a lot of different soups. I put a little sour cream sometimes on my split pea soup, but I thin it out with just a little bit of milk, and that way we can kind of drizzle it on the top. It won't sink to the bottom. It'll still give great flavor, but it's also going to look really pretty. Looking for our mini whisk, Ann. Here it is. How are those pumpkin seeds doing? All right. Ann's like, those seeds are making me nervous. Okay, we'll get them off the heat. And you see how they toast up just perfectly? But they continue to toast in that pan, just like chocolate chip cookies continue to bake when you take them off of the cookie sheet, or out of the oven, I should say. They continue to bake on the cookie sheet. Same idea, so I want to get those right off the heat. All right, let's put this all together, and this is yummy. Makes a really nice, if you're having the ladies over for lunch, that would be a perfect fall luncheon soup to serve, but it's also really nice for dinner. Okay, I'm just looking for my ladle. Serve it with some great bread for dunking. And we did this in like 15 minutes, so it's really that quick. Your house is going to smell amazing. All right, so we'll do a little bit of this sour cream milk mixture that we can kind of just drizzle on top and make it look pretty, pretty, pretty. Oh, maybe I did a little too thin. There we go. Now you can see it. Okay, a little bit of fresh parsley, and then a few of those pumpkin seeds, just to let everybody know that this is homemade pumpkin soup. This one's a winner. Really just delicious. Recipes on our website. You can also pick it up at any area Festival Foods. Enjoy.